Yo, what up, boys? How's it going? And welcome back to another episode of the One Piece Virgin Podcast. Back again. Mac unfortunately could not make it, but we do have our virgin, Poseidon. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good.
Yeah,
Finished Baratie
let's go.
last
We are
night.
on Baratie, boys, and we have a special guest today, Axel Beats. My man, it's been a minute. How you been?
Fantastic. Really excited for Baratie. It's one of my favorite early arcs. I think there's so much to talk about for this one.
Yeah, it's definitely the arc that
Oh
got
yeah.
me into One Piece. But let's start off general. Poseidon, how are you feeling about One Piece in general and the arc Baratie?
I will say this was probably my favorite arc so far.
Let's go.
I really enjoyed Baratie overall. I don't know. I just really like the concept of a restaurant at sea, and then somebody like Don Krieg, who is the basically king of the is
East
it the
Blue.
East Blue?
The East Blue, yes.
Yeah, finally going toe to toe with Luffy. I think now that the stakes are up, we are now seeing
Yeah, stakes are
how
definitely getting
serious he's
higher
gonna get.
compared
Yeah, they
to
are.
compared to what Clawhador or whatever the hell his name is. But yeah, Baratie is great. Zoro was your favorite character. Has that changed?
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
It has not. I will say, the introduction to Sanji, uh, probably put him to number 2 right now.
Oh, let's
I
go.
really enjoyed Sanji a lot. But I will say this arc was the arc that made me cry, I feel like every other episode.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that'll happen, especially with the backstory. Like that's
Oh my
brutal.
gosh. It is.
All right, let's
Uh,
let's start from the beginning. If you want to take us through some of your thoughts, some of your favorite moments.
I did some bullet points for like things that I thought of for each episode. So I'm gonna start with episode 20. I so that was the episode where there was slight foreshadowing with I don't remember the guys' names. I do apologize. It is
Johnny and
Zoro's
Yosuke.
buddies. Yeah.
Johnny
I
and
got
Yosaku, my
Chad.
goats.
The MVPs for this arc. They were the real heroes. I loved how in the beginning it kind of like foreshadowed a little bit of what was gonna happen with them, kind of starving, one of them having scurvy, and the importance of like having food and all of that. And it kind of foreshadowed like Don Krieg's crew, despite them being like a huge, probably the strongest crew in the East Blue. Something like starvation could take them out.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of cool foreshadowing. And it was the introduction to Sanji. So I put down my first impressions of Sanji. So I'm gonna read it off.
Go for
He's
it.
a tough guy energy, a bit mysterious looking, super badass with his footwork and cooking skills, and takes a lot of pride in those. And then I probably bumped himself up to second favorite character thus far.
Swear.
Hell yeah.
So it was a
Accurate.
great first impression. Uh,
So wait,
uh,
what is Sanji's first impression? Is that him beating up the
Full
lieutenant?
body.
Full,
Yeah.
yeah, full body. He's a lieutenant, and bro, I love it. Like I completely understand. He wasted food, so Sanji kicked his ass. But also Sanji straight up just trying to steal his girl. Like,
yeah.
The
go
guy
ahead.
pulled ahead for
Rizzler.
specific wine so that he could like impress the girlfriend, and Sanji's just like, no, fuck, you could have whatever.
Yeah.
Totally throws that out too.
Yeah, honestly, great introduction. I love Sanji. I mean, at this point in the story, for me, he was my favorite character.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was it that caught like your eye for him? Like, what was it that made him automatically your favorite?
Um,
Fuck boy energy.
I think like he's just, like so. One thing you'll notice throughout the series, and I feel like this version of Sanji matches the live action pretty well because his first introduction, and he's so badass, and like he's trying to like he has Riz and he's smooth, but then like the immediate comedic like counterpart when he like sees Nami, but then like
Yeah.
talking shit to the boys like Luffy and Usopp immediately is so good. Like I love the contrast between his character.
He has very different sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very complex.
And then his backstory just hit me the hardest up until this point. Like Baratie is what got me into One Piece, so I think maybe I'm biased, and that's why Sanji became my favorite at the time because his backstory compared to any backstory we had prior to this is just unmatched.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Oda changed his style of writing backstories when he got to Sanji.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
it's like the first one we had was Zoro's backstory with Kuina, which we actually don't get until almost this point in the manga. But it's kind of like there's a lot of levity in it, until she falls down the stairs. Uh, and then we had Usopp's, who's just like his mom is sick, which like the entire thing is sad. But like, we don't really focus on it at all. It's like a 3-panel thing.
Yeah.
So Sanji is like the first time that he actually took time to like focus on like, hey, we got 4 or 5 episodes here. We're just gonna watch this kid suffer for a bit.
Yeah.
And like it just tears you apart.
It does. Oh my god, I cried so much during the Sanji backstory episode.
I have
it was
a
like throughout the whole thing.
I have a quick thing I want to point out. So Poseidon, prior to watching One Piece, she did watch the One Piece live action.
Okay.
How much of a like difference? Like they completely glossed over Baratie compared to the live action in the anime.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I kind of like now watching the anime. I really do wish they did spend more time in Baratie.
Like I know like
I
Don
understand.
Don
Time in
Cru-
Syrup Village.
Yeah. I mean, I think the live action did a good job on Syrup Village and Orange Town, but at the same time, like, I know they did a decent job with, like, Sanji's introduction and his backstory, and I know a lot of people don't love Don Krieg, but I think this arc in general is just important. I don't think it should have been glossed over like it was.
Yeah.
Don Krieg did have a brief appearance in the live action for like one
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, he just got
and it
wrecked.
was by Mihawk.
Yeah. He just straight up got wrecked by Mihawk.
Yeah, it was just more so. He was more so just like a little cameo during Mihawk's introduction. So, I mean, I won't lie. Like, as much as like Don Krieg is the strong guy, I don't think he was my favorite like villain so far. I kind of liked Kuro just a little more. I don't know. Maybe I just thought Don Krieg was a little bit annoying.
I think, yeah, Don Krieg is just generic, but at the same time, it is
Yeah.
nice to see, like, a ruthless pirate. But yeah, definitely not my favorite by any means.
No.
So
it was-
Krieg and Kuro act as a way to show Nami that Luffy's a different kind of captain than most pirates she's experienced with, which is kind of
Mhm.
cool. So like when you look at Kuro, he's like killing his own men like it doesn't matter. He completely plans to abandon them the second he gets there. When you meet Krieg, he's like this towering guy in this gold armor to protect himself while showing off everyone else that he's like he's the shit. Like, look how cool I am. But like Luffy doesn't care about showing off. He doesn't care about like anything that these two are all about. And like when Krieg wants to fight someone, he sends in his men. When Luffy wants to fight, he's like, I'm going in first. Like every part of their mentality about what it means to be a leader is opposite.
Mhm.
And it's interesting on like specifically how Nami interacts with them as well.
I will say I did wish to see Nami a little more involved in
Yeah.
this arc. I understand that she did kind of just abandon all of them.
Mhm.
It happens.
Just stole the Go Mary and was like, "See you guys. I'm gonna do what I need to do." But yeah, I was hoping Nami could at least witness of some of the battle going down. But if I remember correctly, she like left.
Pretty
Before
early on.
any
She
of
leaves
this.
pretty early on. Honestly, like you mentioned, it was pretty good foreshadowing with like the scurvy and Yosuke and Johnny, but they also dropped the wanted posters and you see Arlong, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's not a spoiler because she's seen the live action. She knows that where Nami's going, right? And you get to see Nami's reaction when she sees the poster. And I think honestly, a very well written arc and like Baratie sets up a lot of things very well from the get go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I want to say, like with One Piece in general, I'm now 30 episodes in. I love the world building in this,
Yeah.
this anime. You don't see it done as well in a lot of animes like One Piece. So I really enjoy that. What else? Let me kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, the world building's a great point. At this point in Baratie, you get introduced to a lot of things. We learn more about the Grand Line. We see Mihawk, and we'll get into that. I'm pretty sure they even mention the Emperors at the end of the arc briefly.
Warlords.
The warlords for sure.
Yeah.
But they don't
The
mention
warlords.
Emperors, do they?
I don't believe so.
Chat? Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, you learn more about the Grand Line and the world and the system that's going on behind the scenes. Go ahead, Poseidon, and we'll talk about the Mihawk fight after if we need to.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the Grand Line as well. Again, when I mentioned the stakes are now getting higher and higher,
Yeah.
you see somebody like Don Krieg, who is very well respected amongst pirates, barely able to get out alive.
Yo, he survived a week.
He survived a week, yeah.
Crazy.
So it also kind of puts Luffy's perspective of, okay, this is not for the weak, but he still wants to go for it.
Honestly, it was a pretty great scene when we find out that Don Krieg only survived a week. You hear like Usopp fucking scream, and then you see Luffy. Luffy's like trembling a little bit, like he's shaking.
Yeah.
And Zoro has a reaction to it, and then it cuts to Luffy smiling, like he's trembling from excitement. Like that, like Don Krieg getting wrecked in a week by a mysterious man is like got him pumped. He's like, I'm so excited to go. This is gonna be so fun.
It's my turn now. Ooh, speaking of Zoro, maybe we can like start talking about that.
Yep.
I've noticed a little bit of a trend. I don't know if we mentioned it in the last one, but the Zoro nerf almost. I feel like a lot of the fight would have been over sooner if Zoro did not fight Mihawk.
Yep.
But I'm noticing the slight trend of Zoro fighting in the beginning, either getting injured somehow or taking a nap. Again, happened in this arc.
Yeah.
One of the first fights was against Mihawk. I loved Mihawk in the live action. He was super duper charming. So going into this, I was really happy to see how accurate that was. How the live action accurately portrayed the anime counterpart. Yeah. Love Mihawk. And I much preferred the fight in the anime versus the live action.
For sure.
I feel like you get a little more, it's more emotional.
It feels more real in the anime as well.
It feels real, yeah.
Which is weird because it's the live action, but it feels more real cartoons or animated.
Let me see what I wrote down.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks as well since she's watched this. So we're like, so bear with us a little bit, chat.
Yeah. Bear with me. I have goldfish brain.
Same.
Let's see. I noticed you see a little bit of Zoro's kind of boneheadedness of whole. Alright, he just kind of goes into the fight. I mean, understandably, right? Mihawk is known as the greatest swordsman in the world at this point.
And that's his goal. That's his goal, right?
And that's his goal. He made a promise, and he wants to fulfill it. So him just going straight on and Mihawk taking out his little knife and is like, I'm not wasting my big sword on you, buddy.
What's the line? It was
wouldn't hunt a rabbit with a cannon.
Wouldn't hunt a rabbit with a cannon. It's so great.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, it takes a lot of courage and like he's definitely stubborn, but I can't find the word I'm looking for. But it like the fact that he runs into Mihawk so early in his journey, and he knows he's gonna lose, and yet for him, like, he can't walk away from this. He needs to take the challenge head on.
So him and Sanji actually have kind of similar moments here. So Zoro's all about like honor and like, I have to do this because this is important to me and all that, right? So when he sees Mihawk, he's like, naturally I have to fight him. I'm gonna get my ass kicked, but like I have to do it. Sanji sees Krieg as starving, and he's all about like the duty of serving people who are hungry. So like he knows that Krieg is gonna be a bastard immediately afterwards. And he's like, I'm still gonna feed him. Like, he's hungry. What do you want me to do? And it's like really cool to see both of them do stupid things that get them in over their heads in like opposite kind of ways.
Yeah, and sticking to their morals, sticking to their like, their principles, right? I always respect. I always love that in anime. How did
Both idiots though.
Yeah, how did you? Yeah, we got cool lines as well, like wounds on the back are a swordsman's shame, followed by him getting absolutely slashed. How do you feel about those moments? Plus, like Zoro's like kind of oath or speech to Luffy there at the end, Poseidon.
So that one I put on the little bullet point for this episode. Made me cry a lot.
Yeah.
That whole speech of Zoro basically yelling at Luffy on, like, at his worst. He's injured, saying, "This will be the last time I lose. I promise to you, Pirate King, I will not disappoint you," type of speech absolutely just wrecked me, because this goes to show that Zoro is Luffy's ride or die.
Yeah.
He will stick with Luffy, and he cares about him and his dream, and he wants to fulfill his dreams alongside of him. So that made me cry, and I think that was also when Luffy was just like, I need to do this for Zoro. I need to stop this guy and for him.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I respect the Luffy watching the duel, not getting involved, and then
Yeah.
stepping in immediately after to make sure like everything's okay type of thing. But he obviously allowed Zoro to have his moment, and the wording of it is just so good, right? And it just goes back to the first episode when Zoro's on the poles, and he's like, I wouldn't have anything less but than the world's greatest swordsman on my crew. Like they have this like little fun banter, and then he says the same thing like, I'll never lose again, king of the pirates. And he had that little flashback moment in it. It's so good. I rewatched it today and got emotional as well, Poseidon. So I'm there with you, and I've seen it like 7 times.
Speaking about Zoro on the poles, cool thing with his backstory and Sanji's, or not his backstory, but how we meet him and Sanji's. Zoro's choosing to starve for 30 days to protect someone else, which is kind of what Zeph does for Sanji in his backstory.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
there's a
he's
A lot
lot
of
of.
parallels.
There's
There's
tons
so
of parallels in
many.
this arc.
I love it. I love it.
So many.
Honestly, the entire time I was rewatching it today, I was just telling Chad, I'm like, this arc is so well laid out. So many parallels, so much foreshadowing, and just like back-to-back things to set up what's to come. I really appreciate Baratie, and I watching it again, I'm like, I understand why this is the one that got me into One Piece. It's definitely a step above the previous ones.
Oda's a genius. What can we say?
Yeah.
Especially coming out of Syrup Village.
Yeah, I know, right? I love that Poseidon has noticed that Zoro's gonna be nerfed. We kind of briefly
Yeah.
mentioned it, but like the fact that you're gonna keep on picking up on it, it's gonna keep on happening. So
It's good, yeah. 'Cause I'm just
I don't
like,
think he has a healthy fight until like the New World.
yeah,
How far is that?
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No.
Well, the thing is, Zoro and Luffy are pretty similar in strength. So having 2 guys at that level so early on, sometimes
It
like
what
it's
it
like
is.
like Luffy has to fight the other captain. So Zoro needs to be wounded. So it starts off with Buggy stabbing him so that when he fights Kabuji, he's wounded. Homie's like slipping on oil and wounded during the Kuro fight and like showing up late and shit. And then now, like he's already wounded prior to fighting Mihawk and then gets absolutely shredded up by Mihawk. So setting up for future fights, he's still not fully recovered by any means.
Something I also noted with this fight was the actual respect Mihawk had for Zoro.
Yes.
He wipes him, like absolutely demolishes this guy, but respects his ambition and his heart and decides to spare him for the chance for Zoro to train and hone his skills to one day they can battle again.
Yeah.
I at this point don't know if Mihawk's a bad guy, he's a good guy. He's just some really strong dude who just gets bored and
That's about right.
things
Yeah.
up. But
Pretty accurate.
To this day, that pretty much lands.
But I love to see that he does have respect for his opponent, and I love Mihawk so much.
The interesting-
I'm so excited to see
Yeah.
him in future arcs.
I love Mihawk as well. He's so great. And the interesting thing about this that I feel like a lot of other shows don't implement. Imagine bringing like an endgame boss, the world's greatest swordsman, like to the East Blue, and it shows us how big the world is right before they're going to the Grand Line, and they're setting up this Grand Line, and then we have one of the endgame bosses, like one of the strongest people in the world potentially, the world's greatest swordsman, showing up to humble the crew, to show them how weak they are in comparison and how far they have to go. Like I think it's just such a great thing to do early on. A lot of shows don't do that.
It just goes to show how much they have to work.
Yeah.
Towards, what they have to work towards.
Yeah, think about their ambitions. The world's greatest swordsman, the king of the pirates. Like Mihawk even says, like to Luffy, your goal is even greater than his. And like they're so far away. They're so far away from it.
Oh yeah. One of my favorite lines from Mihawk was like they were asking like, "Oh, you're just gonna go?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just go take a nap or something along those lines." Where he's just
Bored
like, "Yeah,
now,
I'm bored.
I
Bye."
was gonna come and kill you, but you know. And my
I
theory.
also like
Go
him
ahead.
coming back from the Grand Line on a raft. He's like, I had nothing to do. They left. I'm gonna hunt him down. Huh?
Yeah. So did he float? Did he float through the calm belt? Like, there's no way he went reverse mount. I shouldn't. My bad. How the fuck did he get there?
His boat might have the same thing as marine ships,
the marine
warlords.
ships. Sorry, I'm not trying to spoil for Poseidon. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
I know,
I'm just
I'm
like,
not-
bro, how did he get here? Like,
I just thought his entrance was hilarious. He was just floating on a boat in his like little chair with his legs
Yeah.
crossed, arms crossed, like ready
Yeah.
to fuck shit up. And I thought that was so funny. What a wonderful entrance.
He's so extra. I fucking love
He
it.
is.
I think part of the reason why Mihawk leaves is he realizes that one, Zoro and Luffy are at the beginning of their journey. He respects their ambition and the fact that they have these morals, and I think immediately he's like, oh, good on Luffy for not jumping in the fight. I think he leaves because he could just one-shot Don Krieg, right? Like he could just kill him in a second, right? And he's like, you know what? We need to let Luffy and Zoro, the next generation, deal with this. He's like, I'm not going to interfere in these rookies and their games. They have a long way to go, and they need this experience, is what I'm thinking. Or maybe he just wanted a nap.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Could be both.
Could be both.
I like that he respects Luffy too, even though he didn't fight him. He's just like, oh no, he like understands the rules here. Like this is real cool.
Yeah. I feel like people just immediately take to Luffy.
He
Oh,
just
that's-
has that charisma that you don't see very often
Yeah.
with people. Because even someone as Zoro, who was so against pirates, he's like, I hunt these guys. Saw something in Luffy and wanted to join him. So it doesn't surprise me that Mihawk kind of had a similar.
How do you feel about the Don Krieg versus Luffy fight, which again did not take place in the live action at all?
No. Don Krieg just got one shot by Mihawk in the live action. Mihawk just, like, in the live action, what is it? He sliced his bullet or something, and then just killed Don Krieg, and that was it. You hear
So
him
did he
screaming
die
over
in the
phone.
live action? Someone in
You
my
hear
chat
the
told.
screaming.
Yeah.
over
Someone in
the
my
phone,
chat
like,
told me that he died in the live action.
It's very heavily implied. You don't see him kill Don Krieg, but he's on the phone with I can never remember this guy's name. I'm so horrible with names.
Garp.
Garp. And all you hear is Don Krieg's like screaming.
True. So we don't really
And
know if
it's-
he's alive or dead then. Okay. Interesting.
We don't. He could be just really, really injured.
Yeah.
But assuming it's Mihawk, we don't know.
He's
Yeah.
probably fine. He only got shot. It's not like he fell down the stairs or anything. It's
So wait, have we had the
Most
Zoro and
lethal
Kuina
death.
backstory already, or is that?
I don't think we discussed the Zoro backstory at all. I don't think
We didn't
the last
discuss it,
episode.
but it's already like we've already had his backstory up until this point, right?
I think the anime shows a little bit like when you first meet Zoro, and the manga shows it all now. At the
Got
start
it.
of this arc.
There
At
was
the
like a whole episode for Zoro's backstory.
Yeah.
Episode 20?
Got it. So it has been shown. Okay, I can't. Sometimes I can't remember the order of events.
Or episode 19.
Anyway, yeah, Don Krieg versus Luffy. How did you feel about this fight?
So I put down this was probably my favorite fight of the series so far.
Let's
you
go.
actually see Luffy like show off his abilities at its most at this time.
Yeah.
His like stretchy his strength, like him being able to destroy Don Krieg's weapon
Yeah.
within seconds is insane. Like I feel like in the past arcs, you did see Luffy's like cool little antics and stuff like that, but you don't see his like full strength until now.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's why I was a little bit annoyed. It was like it's not the best fight. It's a good fight at this point in the story, and it annoyed me that they took it out of the live action because here you get to see the type of fighter Luffy is. Like in the other arcs, you get to see the type of person Luffy is. I feel like in this one, you get to see the type of fighter he is. Like there's a scene where he runs through the smoke, gets shot in the leg a couple times, just takes the hit. Krieg puts up like a spiked wall, and Luffy punches through the spikes. And then you have a line from Zeph like, Sanji, don't take your eyes off this man. He's an annoying motherfucker to fight. I don't know if he's gonna win or lose, but it deserves our respect to watch him because homie has no fear, and he just sends it. And I think that's the beauty of this fight. You get to see the type of fighter he is and like person in battle.
Yeah, Krieg's all about keeping himself alive, and Luffy's all about like life isn't worth living if I'm not moving forward.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
And like fucking Krieg got all this armor, all these weapons. Luffy's
Yeah.
running around in flip flops. Those toes are
Flip-flops and
those
a
toes
straw
are free.
hat. The most basic clothing you could have, right?
Yeah.
His flip flops and his fists. That's all he got. Yeah, now that you mention it, I am like kind of understanding that Don Krieg does just his strength comes from his weapons and armor, not from him as like a person.
Yeah, for the most part. For the most part, like
Yeah,
I'm sure
for
he's
the
above
most part.
average in strength by quite a bit, but he relies on tactics and armor and weapons to make the difference.
Mhm.
How do you feel? How do you feel about Sanji's fighting style?
I it's so
Beyblade.
silly. I think when when you mentioned that, a moment I particularly remember was the two chefs, the two bozos,
Caddy and Carne.
on the little ship, and he like there's flying through the sky about to hit Baratie. You just see Sanji fly into the air and kick it
Yeah, it kicks
to
the
kind
boat.
of
Kicks the
reroute it
boat.
somewhere else, and it's like Sanji has this type of strength.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
dude.
What? That's crazy. I just think it's so funny. I think it's also unique that he's just mainly footwork.
Yeah.
So I mean, you see Luffy. He uses his fists. He uses his devil fruit powers to stretch himself. And then you see Sanji with his like kicking and all of that. I think it's so cool to see different fighting styles amongst all of the Straw Hat crew as so far. You
Yeah.
see Zoro with his swords, Nami. I mean, she has her little what is it?
Pole.
Staff. Bow staff, yeah.
Pole. But I
Usopp's
feel like
got
her
his
strength.
slingshot.
Yeah, everyone's got their strength. I think that's a great to
Everyone's
point
got
out.
their
I really like that
strength.
Oda did that. It's like, so Sanji's kicking, Luffy's got a devil fruit and he's reckless and he has all these different attacks. Zoro's got his swords, Usopp has his slingshot. Like everyone has a different fighting style and it matches their persona, right?
Yeah.
The start of the arc, we actually see like a lot of how people are good at different things. So like Luffy's trying to shoot the cannon, but he sucks ass at it. Usopp's like, "Let me try. I'm the best at this." He's like a great sharpshooter. He also like makes
Nails
the
it.
flag because he's better at handyman stuff than Luffy is.
Yeah.
Nami knows about medicine and scurvy and all that shit, so she's useful too. Like it just everyone has their own stuff they bring to the table, and Oda takes time to show it, which is real cool.
Dude,
Mhm.
without Nami, these guys would be dead at sea by now.
Oh,
With-
100%.
But I mean, now at the end of the arc, they're like, "Where's Nami? What are we gonna do?"
yeah.
So I'm actually really excited for this next one. I think it's Arlong Park, correct?
Yes.
ma'am.
Oh God, because I already have an inkling of how Nami's story is gonna go, and I know that's gonna make me cry. So I'm really excited for that one.
I will say, I think the original story is infinitely better than Arlong Park in the live action. Like
Yeah.
Oh, now
I
really
actively
excited.
didn't like Arlong Park in the live action.
Yeah, I have the same stance. I'm like, you know what? They did Seer Village pretty good. They did Orange Town pretty good. They did like Luffy's introduction pretty well. But then once they got to Baratie and Arlong Park, that's where the anime is just far better than it.
Even like the changes with like Nojiko and all of them and like how they see Nami. I'm like, that's so important to the story, and they changed it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll definitely. That's what we're going to be covering either next week or the week after, depending on how long it takes Poseidon to watch it. So we're going to be on either like a weekly to bi-weekly schedule. We're covering Arlong Park next week, but there's a few more things we definitely need to cover about this arc. How do you feel about
Oh, yeah.
about Geen?
I really liked him as a character. He's very complex.
Yes, yes.
I think the cool thing was you kind of get that slight plot twist towards the end of the arc where you find out that he is Krieg's right hand man, and he is probably just as like a little, maybe a little less strong, but almost just as strong as Krieg himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a very complex character. You see him, let me what did I
Yeah, Sanji saves his life in the start. So
Sanji
from that
saves
point onward, he's complex because like now he's like, do I follow my captain? Do I like maintain like my pride and morals in that regard, or my morals in regard to someone who saved me? Like he struggles with that.
Yeah, the loyalty versus morals type of thing, and you can like see him feel guilty for even bringing Don Krieg to Baratie
Yeah.
because you kind of Jim probably knows what is gonna happen, and you see he couldn't even look Sanji into the eye, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
His fight, I really enjoyed his fight against
Pearl.
Sanji.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're right. I was wrong.
Oh. Pretty badass fight. I really liked his weapon. I put that down. His weapon choice was really cool.
Yeah, I do like that weapon as well. It's cool.
But despite being ordered by Krieg to kill Sanji, Jin can't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Because this is where you see him kind of go, this man saved my life. I am not going to kill him. He showed me kindness, and I couldn't live with that. So you see how cruel Krieg is, right? With him basically being like, I'm going to kill you then.
Dude,
This person...
Krieg is such a piece of shit.
He
Imagine
is.
being on the verge of death. Your entire crew's on the verge of death. The people that give you food and save you, you're gonna kill and steal their ship and attack them immediately. And then your right hand man who's had your back forever. You like you were about to say, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you see, I mean, if I remember correctly, Jin was the reason why they were able to
Yeah.
get out from the Marines, right?
Yep.
He was the reason why they freed themselves from them. So for Krieg to just go around and so quickly be like, I'm gonna kill you, just
Crazy.
shows how cruel he is. And this was also the moment where Jin probably realized, like, I can't be loyal to this guy anymore.
Well, he still is.
Yeah.
He still is. Like, he
He
struggles. He
still
goes
kind of
back
is.
and forth. He teeter-totters. And, like, it just shows what happens when you follow the wrong man.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the moment where Luffy decided to recruit Sanji, where he's feeding Gin?
Like when that was in the beginning, right, where he saw Sanji's kindness, right,
Yes.
despite everybody at the restaurant being like, "Don't do it! Don't, no! He has to pay for it. You can't do it." I think things Luffy looks for is people's heart, seeing their ambitions and all of that. So to see, despite everybody telling Sanji don't do it, he saw how kind-hearted Sanji was, and his heart was. I use that word a lot because I feel like that's a very, like, if I were to describe One Piece, it has a lot of heart.
Yes, it
just
does.
in general.
So Luffy uses the same word when he's looking at recruiting Zoro and Sanji.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe's like, you can't recruit Zoro. He's a monster. He's like, no, I'm sure if he's a good person, I'll recruit him. He doesn't care about like anything else about him. He's just like, if he's good, that's it. And when he sees Sanji feeding Gin, he's like, oh, a good cook. I want him on my crew.
Yep.
I mean,
and I like
Sanji
that's
risked
important to him.
getting in trouble.
Yeah.
He did it behind everybody's back. He threw away all the evidence and being like, well, I can't get in trouble if there's no evidence. So, yeah.
Zeph would have been on his side anyways.
True.
100%.
Yeah, Zeph understands because he's been through the same situation. But I agree. I think Luffy's a good judge of character, and it's the character that he cares about, like joining his crew.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then it just also helps that Sanji's also goated and strong. He's also a cook, which they've been looking for, and he also has an over-the-top dream to find the All Blue that everyone else thinks doesn't exist. How do you feel? How do you feel about that as well?
I kind of want to tie this in with my thoughts of the Zeph.
Go ahead.
Backstory. So that entire it was almost a whole episode where it was the Zeph and Sanji backstory. I love how when they were stranded on that island when Sanji was a kid and Zeph was still a captain and everything like that. The reason why Zeph even saves Sanji is because he sees somebody who shared the same dream as him.
Yeah.
And it made me really cry at the end because Zeph kind of gave up on that dream to have a new dream of opening a restaurant. So Zeph sending off Sanji and be like, I want you to fulfill your dream in a sense of I didn't get to have that, so I want you to have that. That one was.
How did Zeph lose his leg in the live action?
He got his leg stuck under some shipwreck debris underwater, and he needed to save Sanji, so he cut his leg off.
The live action does that too?
Oh, are you talking about the live action? Oh, I don't remember. It's been too long.
So I know that the anime does the leg being stuck thing. In the manga, it shows he gave Sanji all the food and ate his own leg instead. And I think that's a real cool difference to let you know about.
I think they did that in the live chat. Remind us, but I'm pretty sure in the live action they imply that he eats his leg, but in the anime they tame it down and they make it so that his leg got stuck, or he chose to kind of cut it off with chain because it got stuck or whatever to free himself so he could save Sanji.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
He's
another thing the
that.
manga takes out is Sanji smokes as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Or the manga has him smoking as a kid, but the anime and live
my
action take that
gosh.
out.
Zeph.
Homie's been training since a young age.
But the idea of like Zeph losing his limb there also ties into like Luffy and Shanks as well. 'Cause Shanks loses his arm.
I was about to
saving
say,
Luffy.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's another parallel there.
Yeah.
There was also one scene I kind of made a parallel how everything kind of comes full circle. How Sanji's now the one saving Luffy at the end, because at the end of Krieg's fight, Luffy falls into the water, and because of his double fruit powers, he's not able to swim, so he's at the bottom of the ocean at this point.
And Zoro
And
has an ouchie, so he can't do it.
He can't. He got nerfed. So
I think at that point Zoro's already on his way to Arlong Park. Right before Luffy fights fights Don Krieg, the boys start heading their way there. There's also a cool scene where as Nami is leaving, she's crying and she's like, I hope I see those guys again.
Oh yeah.
That got to me. That scene got to me.
Did too.
Briggs, do you know where they use that exact line again later?
Which line?
I hope when I see them in the future, they still consider me friends. You know the scene with the X's on their arms?
Yeah.
Word for word, they use the same line.
Word for word, bar for bar. Oh my
I
god.
love it.
That's amazing. I
don't want to like spoil it.
Yeah, exactly. That's so great. I didn't even connect that.
Yeah.
We'll bring it up when the time comes, Poseidon.
We're not there just yet.
We're not there just yet. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was gonna say the whole Nami thing. Like, even though she does want to stay with the Straw Hats, she has a goal in mind, and we're about to find out in Arlong Park. But you also see how determined she is to get this done.
Yes.
So I'm really excited for that, and I'm excited to watch how hard it hits me.
Yeah.
it did hit me in the live action, so if you guys are telling me it's much more like much more in the anime,
it's better.
It's gonna get better.
Okay. Another thing I want to point out is when Nami was crying and she's like, I hope I see them again, she also says, I just want to be free. And like that's Luffy's entire fucking character. And I think it's so good.
Yeah.
Like Luffy's all about freedom, and then Nami while crying, like I hope I see the boys again.
She's not free.
She's like, I just want to be free. So obviously, like what happens in the live action, but she is not free. And that's a great setup for the next arc as well.
Oh boy.
And that just like got me all sad. But what's it called? Let's maybe like think of some funny moments. Any funny moments that stood out to you that you liked in this arc?
We mentioned it earlier, but the flirting that
that's
Sanji,
yeah.
the absolute Rizzler, and Nami just like not having any of it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see their relationship moving forward. I'm gonna assume that that's gonna be a very common interaction between the both of them. Kind of even the sequences of how ridiculous Don Krieg's armor was. The fact that he has like guns and weapons under everything. I thought that was really funny. Oh, one thing. I thought Pearl was such a dumb character.
Yeah, he is. He is. It's true.
I was just like, what is he doing here?
His best.
What is this guy?
I also think they got such like a good, like well-known voice actor to play him for such a stupid role.
Yeah.
As J. Michael Tatum in the dub.
Oh my god.
It's just like he just came off of Sebastian, and they're like, I don't know, guy who hits pearls together.
Yeah. He has great lines like, I hate this refined gentleman.
Yeah, I think he was definitely there for the comedic relief.
Yeah.
But he was just so dumb. Like, why? What is going on with him?
So there's a sequence of events that I love in this in one of the episodes where Luffy's in the kitchen and he's like just sitting there fucking picking his nose, watching people do shit. And then they're like, stop picking your nose, clean some dishes or something, make yourself useful. And then he's just breaking every single dish. And they're like, how many dishes have you broken by now? He's like, oh shit, I forgot to count. And like it's just the stupidity. So they kick him out to make him do orders. He ends up going out there and seeing that all the boys are eating, having a meal. And then he does this thing where he puts like snot in a glass and tries to get Zoro to drink it. And then Zoro makes Luffy drink it. And then like this is just back to back hilarious scenes. Zeph comes out, talks shit to Sanji. And then like I don't know, I don't know what ended up happening, but because of that little like fight that they had, he offers Nami like a fruit bowl and like a drink. And then Usopp's like, "What about us?" He's like, "This tea's good enough for you, and you'll like it, and you should thank me, right?" And then she's like, "Oh, but," and then Nami's like, "Oh, but the food's so expensive," and he's like, "Oh, it's free for you." Like the funny interaction between Nami and Sanji, and then he just turns his head. "You guys still have to pay though."
Yeah.
It's so fucking good, just back to back comedy gold.
He just has two different
I
sides, man. He
I
doesn't
think that's
care
why I
about
love
that.
Sanji. Like he's just so cool and badass, and then an absolute like goofy idiot when it comes to girls, and then back to being like mean to the guys. Like it's so great.
I like that because he like basically grew up with Zeph and in a kitchen with a bunch of burly men. The way he like shows respect to people is he'll like start shit with them. Uh, it's just like such a funny little interaction. Like him and Zoro going forward are constantly doing it, but like you said with him and Usopp, like you're still paying full price.
Yeah,
It's just like little moments like that show off that he actually likes people.
it's true. It's true. Like he feels comfortable around them to bicker and talk shit,
Yeah.
which is
The
great because
bullying.
he ends up joining the boys. The interactions are gold.
What'd you think of the Sanji's goodbye to Zeph?
Oh,
Ooh, so that was the whole kicker with the whole like, oh, more tears.
Yeah.
Seeing all the cooks, you know, acting and trying to get him to go with Luffy and being like, I hate your food and all of that. But they seeing them all want to fulfill his dream, and despite like all their banters, their arguments, and their differences, them at the end seeing and like showing their love for Sanji and how much they actually did care for him and want him to fulfill like his dreams, and seeing everybody wave and say goodbye, and even Sanji getting on his knees and being like, "Thank you, Zeph, for everything,"
yeah.
because um made me very very emotional.
Just such a real and raw moment. And it's like it's just such a
Yeah.
contrast because like Zeph's like real men should leave without goodbyes, let alone tears, and they're just all like all crying, bawling their eyes out. Sanji like on his knees thanking him for everything is so good. It's so good.
It's
It's
just like
so
such a
good.
tense moment, and then like you just hear Zeph like, "Hey, don't catch a cold," and it's like, he does care.
Yeah. Good old Zeph, always having to try to get the last word in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the whole I think I mentioned it already, like Zeph wanting to see Sanji fulfill even like his past dreams. I
Yeah.
think that was a
Hmm.
huge part of it. Um
Yeah,
and
he doesn't want Sanji to stay on the ship forever, trying to repay this
Mhm.
debt. The whole reason Zeph saved him in the first place is that so he could live his life and try to achieve that dream, the dream that
Luffy says exactly that to him
yeah,
about like our mentors gave up something for us. Like they don't want us to just sit here and do nothing with the life they gave us.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. One Piece is goaded. I love it.
One Piece
It's
is
so
good.
good. Like I'm very surprised at how much I like really enjoy this series and how it compares to like more recent stuff I've watched. Like I've seen parts of I haven't finished even Slayer or like even I was a huge fan of Fairy Tail like when it came out. So to watch One Piece and be like, this is so much better than all these other animes I've watched,
Bro,
with just like the character building and the world building and the development with like everything and the foreshadowing. I love how things are getting hinted early
hmm
on, and it's like now I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna try to remember this for later, type of thing. I feel like it's genius storytelling that I don't think you see very often with other animes.
I love that you have this reaction already because like yeah, it has a good start and like Baratie is like the first really good arc that it's like okay, this is
Yeah.
peak. This has potential to be an amazing series. Poseidon, it really does just get better and better and better. It has its ups and downs at times, but there are so many arcs that are like 10 times better than this.
I'm looking forward to it then.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So I don't know how many episodes Arlong Park is, but it is a little bit longer. So maybe we do 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's do 2 weeks. Let me just double check. I should. Yeah, I should be available that Tuesday.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I'm excited. Any
I'm excited too.
any final
Is-
thoughts, guys? Axel?
14 episodes for Ellen Park. No, I'm glad she liked the arc so much. Like you said, this is a real turning point for One Piece. So it's so cool to see like everyone kind of gets hooked at the same spot, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes like the previous like fights like before Baratie look like nothing.
Yeah.
And it compared to everything
with
now,
the
it is
butler?
nothing. Yeah, I mean,
But Clawhador.
Miss Clawhador. I like Clawhador a lot, but I don't think he is a huge impactful villain
No.
compared to Don Krieg. You know.
And then, yeah, then we're gonna
I
get
mean,
we're getting
yeah.
Arlong next too. It keeps on going, getting bigger and bigger.
That's crazy.
Anyway, oh, dude, my chat is so fucking funny. I'm just like I haven't looked at it in a while, and I just see like, damn, he ate his leg and didn't share any of it with Sanji. Oregano is for savages, which is a line from the live action. Oh my god, you guys are too funny. But anyway, boys, Axel, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
My
great
pleasure.
great to catch up, my
Thank
friend.
you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Poseidon, thank you so much for doing this. I'm glad you're enjoying. It's always a blast.
Heck yeah.
Check out the boys on Twitch and YouTube and Twitter and all the places. All the places. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bang.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Bye.